So it's confirmed the next Call of Duty game is going to be called Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and that may not make sense because we did have a Modern Warfare back in 2007, but if you understand what they're trying to do with this year's Call of Duty, then it does make sense. Basically what they're trying to do with this year's Call of Duty, they're trying to harken back to the roots of Call of Duty, and the game that really got popular with the Call of Duty name and the Call of Duty franchise was definitely Modern Warfare. Sure, there was games prior to Modern Warfare like Call of Duty 2 and Call of Duty 3 and even the big red one, but the thing with those games is it never really started getting people interested in Call of Duty, and that's when Call of Duty was really mainstream and really popular with Modern Warfare, and that's why they're naming this game Modern Warfare. They're really going back to the roots to where it began and to where it really got popular, so the name does make sense. Now, we did get an actual trailer of the latest Call of Duty game, and what do I think of this brand new Call of Duty game? Unfortunately, we did not get any actual in-game gameplay. We only got cutscenes and we only got a cinematic trailer when it comes to Call of Duty, but hey, it's better than nothing. And basically from what I'm seeing from this game, I'm actually liking the direction of this year's Call of Duty, and I think a lot of people agree with me, just because if you look at the YouTube video that they posted, they got way more likes than dislikes, and the dislikes aren't even that bad on this video. Of course, when it comes to the Call of Duty branding and the Call of Duty franchise, you can't please everybody, and some people just don't like every single year's Call of Duty, and some people don't like the era it takes place in, because we've had ones take place in the future, we've had ones take place in modern day settings, we had ones take place in the past in like World Wars and things like that. You cannot please everybody, but of course there's been so many Call of Duty games in history. What can they really do with the Call of Duty franchise? They're not trying to really reinvent the wheel here when it comes to the actual setting of the game. Of course, the setting of the game is still going to be a modern day take on Call of Duty, but overall I'm very happy with the way this Call of Duty game is turning out this year. It looks pretty good. For some reason, when I actually watched the trailer of this brand new Call of Duty game, this brand new Call of Duty game is definitely giving me some more hardcore vibes. I don't know if it's just me or some other people agree with me, but that's the way I look at it, because one thing I did not like about the Call of Duty games as a whole is when you go from game to game, there really wasn't any graphical improvements. They pretty much just used the same engine year to year, and for me personally, it's getting kind of stale, and I kind of wish they would upgrade the graphics or maybe use a brand new engine when it comes to Call of Duty. Call of Duty was never the standard when it comes to showcasing what the power can be inside of these consoles, so I'm glad it looks like, from what I'm seeing, this game definitely looks more hardcore and looks like the visuals have been bumped up. Of course, this is only in-game cinematics, and it's not actually a gameplay, so who knows how this game is actually going to play. But one thing that really appealed to me in this actual trailer was when the fact that a whole bunch of soldiers actually busted into a door and they had night vision on, and then when I seen that, I'm like, okay, this game looks pretty awesome and looks pretty solid, just due to the fact that it looks different than any other Call of Duty game, and it looks slightly more graphical. It has slightly more graphical power than the other Call of Duties, at least from what I'm seeing there. And then one thing I really loved about this trailer as well is when the guy actually got on the car and started shooting the car. I thought that was absolutely cool as well. It made it have a different vibe to the actual Call of Duty game. So you can see as a whole, I'm very excited about this year's Call of Duty. Now, one thing to note about this year's Call of Duty is the fact that this year's Call of Duty is actually bringing back the campaign, and that's got to be some pretty exciting news, because as you guys know, with last year's Call of Duty Black Ops 4, they did indeed remove the campaign from that game. They claimed that they couldn't make the Blackout mode, which is pretty much a Battle Royale mode for Black Ops 4, and do the multiplayer and do a campaign, so that's why they cut the campaign. But I'm glad they're finally listening to fans, because there are still fans that do love the campaign. And when it comes to the Call of Duty series as a whole, and when you look at every single campaign they've ever made, most of them are pretty good, and overall the quality does show. I wouldn't say everyone's like flat out amazing and there's some of the best campaigns of any video game. That's definitely not the case here, but I have heard people say they flat out love the campaigns. Now, when it comes to the campaigns in Call of Duty games, it's very hit or miss with me. Some years I'll play the campaign, and some years I would not play the campaign, but when it comes to Call of Duty, I'm mostly a multiplayer person. When it comes to Call of Duty, I can admit that. Usually, nowadays, when it comes to Call of Duty games, I usually jump straight into the multiplayer rather than play the campaign. That's just me, but I do understand the appeal of a campaign mode for these Call of Duty games, and it will help the game sell better just because they did not remove it. And another reason why it's good for the game as well is not just because it'll make it sell better, because a lot of people didn't like the actual monetary value of the last Call of Duty game. A lot of people felt like it was $60, but by removing the campaign of Black Ops 4, it didn't have the same value as other Call of Duties that were $60 that had a multiplayer aspect, and it also has a single player campaign. So that's going to give this year's Call of Duty definitely a very good look when it comes to branding and when it comes to the look of the game and things like that. Sadly, it looks like from what I'm seeing from all these leaks and all these rumors that are still floating around the internet, it looks like this year's Call of Duty sadly won't have a zombies mode to the game. But honestly, I don't really know about who still cares about this zombie mode. I know zombie mode is a great mode, to be fair, but it seems like I think a couple of the last ones already had a zombie mode, and I'm pretty sure Black Ops 4 has a zombie mode in it as well, so I guess it really doesn't matter. And then you do have to realize it's made by a different company, since Call of Duty is switched every year between 2 developers or 3 developers, so that makes sense that this year may not have zombies inside the game. What's actually going to be super interesting about Call of Duty Modern Warfare that's coming out this year is the fact that who knows if this game is going to keep the blackout mode, which is Call of Duty's version of a battle royale. That's one thing that's always risky about Call of Duty, since Call of Duty is not the same game every year like a Fortnite, like an Overwatch and things like that. They can't just keep updating the game because they move on to a brand new game, and since they move on to a brand new game, that's the risk of making a brand new game. Sometimes they have modes that are still there, and sometimes they have modes that are not there. Like for instance, last year they chopped the campaign. Now they're bringing the campaign back, but who knows if Blackout is going to be specifically to Black Ops 4, or is that going to be a main staple in the Call of Duty series moving on? Is it going to be in Modern Warfare? Who really knows what they're going to be doing with this year's Call of Duty? But overall, it's shaping up to be a flat-out fantastic game, and I am happy with the direction of this brand new Call of Duty game. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.